Americans of Reddit, what is something you didn't realize was typically American until you went abroad? The prices abroad don't add tax after the fact. You pay what the price shows. No need to figure the tax. Dumb that we do that here. How iced coffee is actually ice cream in your coffee. Best surprise Germany ever offered me. Jaywalking. The rest of the world thinks this is a made-up crime you only see in movies with corrupt cops. New York also thinks this is a made-up crime. BTW. How large grocery stores are here. My wife is not American, and we lived in China, and we're in HK all the time. They had large international stores that were great, and she didn't really grasp the size of American grocery stores till our first week in the USA, and there's 150 feet of cereals on one aisle. Costco and Walmart are small towns. I know a lot of foreigners in the US are surprised to see the size of these markets. Massively wide roads/lanes. The whole of Ireland made me feel claustrophobic. But when I got back home the roads felt like way too much wasted space. To be fair, the USA has a wee bit more space to allocate to wide roads than Ireland does. Having your drink constantly refilled at restaurants. I just wanna drink a ton of water, alright. Or ice in your water. The stereotype about us being loud is true. I never thought of myself as being loud until I went abroad and would hang up the phone after speaking in what I thought was appropriate volume to find everyone around me was staring at me and realized how much more quiet they were. Lol whoops. Visit Italy, you'll feel at home loudness wise. Portion sizes. My high school senior trip to London. As a typically ravenous appetite 18-year-old, I couldn't get over how small everything was standard. My Canadian family had the opposite problem. I'll take a large soda. Holy shit, this is a bucket. It's called a child size because it is approximately the size of a small child, if that child was liquefied. A real bargain at $1.59. Semicolon. Red plastic cups for parties. So much so that people outside US use them as an accessory to American themed parties. Fuck man, now I need to go to an American themed party in Europe. That sounds awesome. It's basically a recreation of college frat parties you see in American movies and TV series. So basically it's just the red cups, beer pong and getting drunk. That has done little to dissuade me. Not an American, but I can always spot Americans at the airport because they take off their shoes at security even if it's not required. That's sad. 9/11 has made that go crazy. People can just drink in public in other countries? That was wild to me. Keeping Akon 100% of the time in the summer, visited Madrid for about a month to see the exchange student we housed, and found that they typically only turn on Ak at night to sleep, or when it reaches a damned 105°F. Americans like to save money, too. My dad would have a mortgage if we had the Akon all day. There's a big shortage of water fountains once you leave the US, I've noticed. Prescription drug advertisements on TV. I feel any prescription drug should be illegal to advertise. The ads say ask your doctor if this medication may be right for you. Fuck that. My doctor should tell me if I need it. Convenience stores that carry just about everything you need. Right. The average American gas station could sustain your life indefinitely. It might not be healthy, but you'd get by. How are you? Being used in place of hello even with strangers. In the US, how are you needs only to be replied with good, you, almost as a way of saying hi. Elsewhere people don't really know how to respond when a stranger asks how are you, how you doing, or how's it going. Same goes for what's up. I'm not American, but I remember I was never quite sure how to respond to this question while playing online games as a kid. Not much/nothing. You is the acceptable response. It's not a serious question. No matter what is going on, this is the only correct answer. If you're 12 or younger you can say the sky and giggle smugly. My British friend makes fun of me for how much cheese I use in my cooking. Doesn't stop her from inhaling my potato casseroles. But there you go. Root beer is apparently disgusting and an offense to most of the world's palate. A Japanese girl living with us as an exchange student described it as too spicy. What? What I mean box has bite. Buying stuff and the cashier putting your items in a plastic or paper bag. Went to Germany and found it strange they don't bag your items. Everyone just brings their own bag or dumps their stuff in a backpack. It's a European law that shops aren't allowed to give away plastic bags for free anymore because they harm the environment. I doubt this is restricted to America in any way, but when I studied abroad in the UK, the lack of public drinking laws was a bit of a culture shock. Being able to walk outside with a bottle of beer was very freeing. Are the stories about public drinking / your police actually true? Our police are nice. You'd be completely intoxicated on white lightning, face down in a park at 12 years of age and they would just take you home. Road trips, at least just jumping in the car and driving a few hours without giving it much thought. I live in a large western state, and it seems at least every other weekend my family and I were in the car traveling for a few hours to see some sight. Going to Mexico or another state. I have relatives in Switzerland and they were going to drive us to the Frankfurt airport, and I was blown away how big of a deal it was to them. My uncle had the car inspected, shopped around for gas, and printed off travel and weather reports. All for a trip my dad would have said, hey, let's do this weekend. In the car, kids. That's like a 4-6H drive. That's pretty significant for us here. I imagine that for Americans in 6H you can't even leave some states' law. For sure. In my state it takes 6 hours to cross, both north and south and east to west. Laughs at you in Texan. It is a Japanese culture to always greet someone as a sign of respect, but I feel uneasy that Americans sometimes looks at you and do a half smile while not saying anything. I just give the silent upward nod. Only if you know / are familiar with the person. Otherwise it's a downward nod. Correct. Up nod. Hey, what's up, I love you and want you to be happy. Down nod. It is morning. Best regards. Respectful acquaintance. Measuring walking / driving distance in blocks. Semicolon. It's the unit of measure I use most frequently when giving directions. The restaurant is 3 blocks away. Go south 1 block, and then 2 blocks west. I live 6 blocks from the grocery store. Semicolon. It wasn't until I studied abroad in England and got a complete blank look when I asked someone how many blocks away the library was that I realized using block as a measurement only makes sense in cities that were largely pre-planned and built on grid system. Aka. Not many places outside the US. In Texas we use time. The airport is 10 minutes away. IKEA is about an hour. How many miles? No idea, but Texas didn't really build its cities on a grid system. It got me the first time I asked about how far the beach was and was told that it's about 5 minutes away. After walking for half an hour I realized that they meant 5 minutes driving. No one walks here, and walking is not a default. Garbage disposals in sinks. When I moved to the UK, my flatmates asked how in movies people would stick their hands in the sink drain and it'd be ripped apart. I told them about garbage disposals and they were very weirded out. I throw orange peels in there and grind them up to get that citrus smell coming out of the drain. Excellent. Being friendly to an extent. I checked in at a hostel and walked into the lounge area where people from all over the world were just chilling. I kinda introduced myself to the whole room, and someone goes, "You're from the States, yeah?" And I'm like, "Yeah, how do you know?" They said, "Only an American will walk into a room of strangers and introduce themselves to everybody." Reading some of these comments, I want to clarify something. It was said in good spirits and was not confrontational at all. After the room had a laugh, I sat down and we all shared our travel stories. I still keep in touch with a lot of the people I met in that room. That's gold. I'm Aussie, and I would never think to introduce myself to a room full of people like that. I'm from the US and I wouldn't either, although I know many people who would. Cold drinks. Every European country I visited the drinks would best be described as cool, but definitely not cold like in the US. I found an English pub in Portugal that served ice cold beer and had those steel cold strips along the bar counter to keep the drink from warming up fast. That became my spot. Ice in drinks. Yep, at a nightclub in France. They had a single small bowl with ice cubes from the refrigerator to plop into cocktails. On a flight back from China, I asked for ice in my water, and they used tongs to pluck up and drop into my water one piece of ice about the size of a grape. Semicolon. In China, if you are sick, drink hot water. Ask any soldier after multiple deployments what one of the most remarkable things about America, and it would be massive grocery stores. I'm pretty sure I've seen Czech villages that are smaller than a Walmart. Having plenty of free bathrooms around for the public to use. No, in Europe finding a public restroom can be a pain. In Ireland there were bathrooms around the city that were 1.50 euros, and you had around 5 minutes before the door would automatically open. You had around 5 minutes before the door would automatically open, semicolon. What are you saying to me? Claire 2 has arrived. Free public restrooms. When I visited Europe I thought it was the strangest thing that you had to pay to use a public restroom.